Thank you, Mauricio, for that message. It's amazing how many faces the Torah has, and how we see the Torah differently depending on who's reading it. And when I read that, you said that a humble person speaks, and the prideful person is silent. And it's Hebrew. It's like two sides of the same coin, because sometimes the humble person is silent, and the prideful person speaks. So it depends on the situation, because I know sometimes when I'm with my family and they all disagree with what I believe and what I say, and they're all agreeing with each other, I have to stay silent. And I think it's, if I, in that moment, if I was prideful, and say, no, I'm right, you have to listen to me. But in this case, I have to keep quiet, because maybe because also a fear of being mocked. That's also. And then the other thing, when I was looking at why did Judah say to burn Tamar, because you could see how he was steeped in the paganism. He married a Canaanite woman. All his sons were Canaanites. They were raised in that culture. And it was a Canaanite practice to burn the adulteress, or to burn people, because in Israel, they would stone people. They didn't burn them. So I was surprised when I heard what you say, the rabbis say about it, because to tell you the truth, I don't agree with them. I don't agree that it's better to burn than to say something like that in public. I would rather get into trouble in public than to burn. Anyway, but everybody has their opinions. But it was a wonderful message. And it's very hard to humble ourselves. Life humbles us. Our experiences humble us. Oh my goodness. And it's so hard to be humbled. So thank you for that beautiful message.
Yeah, thank you, Mauricio. It really is hard to be truly humble. It's not what people think when you appear, when people say, oh, what a humble man so-and-so was. And it's all staged, real humility is like, anyway, it's true. There are different faces to it. I was just thinking, when you said sometimes it's humble to speak out and sometimes it's humble to be silent. I guess I don't agree with the picture of one thing about when Joseph is being, sold into slavery, etc. And you said that was the time to speak, but it was pride. My feeling is just, imagine how terrified he was. He couldn't utter a peep. I didn't. At that point, he's in a well, and he's in here, and I would think he's just in shock. Anyway, but that's not. I get the point of what you were saying, but I think in that case he didn't speak because he was terrified. But who knows?
Was he? I think he was only 17. No, when they threw him in a pit.
Yeah, I think so.
Hey, Mauricio, how old he was? He was a kid.
Yeah, he was a kid, but if you check, he didn't have any problems to talk, okay? Because he gathered his father and the brothers to tell the story of his dreams. That, and also he was informing his father. Then we see that he looked for a man in the way to ask for his brothers. So he was not really
He wasn't shy.
He wasn't shy, yeah. But honestly, the point is, when you see someone who is hurting you, you have to talk, okay? Because it is like a proverb says that you must speak for those who cannot speak, right? In this case, you can be the person who can speak, but obviously, for me, in this case, is like, okay, if my brother is hurting me, honestly, I would say, hey, stop. This is not correct. Let us talk. Let us, to open. But in his case, for me, what I see for the whole picture is that he never contradicts or speak to his brothers. For example, I don't see right now any in the Bible that someone has to speak to another to for example, Nathan and David, remember the prophet? David did something that it was not good. Okay. Well, he was a prophet, yes, but he confront David for what he did.
Yeah.
And
And he
said,
spoke
"It's
later.
not-"
He spoke later to Potiphar's wife. And he told her,
Yeah.
no, what you're asking me is wrong. I can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sometimes in life, when especially when you are with brothers, honestly, if you look for a person that you don't know and you look that he's doing, even if, for example, in El Salvador, I don't know, but sometimes I've seen in the street a woman hitting a kid, for example, punishing in public, okay, on the street. Sometimes I have stopped my car and shout to the woman, "What are you doing?" And because you are looking that she is not correcting the kid, she is how do you say that word in English?
Em-
Um,
Embarrassing?
yeah,
Humiliate.
not humiliate. Yeah. So, but it's not. It's more than that. You are looking that she's mistreating.
Mistreating him.
Yeah, mistreating him.
Right.
So it is not correct, and you need to stop that. Okay.
Yes.
Or sometimes you see a person who is hurting an old person. Hey, what happened with you? It's an old man. Just relax, and you know, and people just with that words, you are changing the attitude at that moment. So you speak, but there are a lot of person that sees the problem and just look for it's not my problem. That is pride, okay? Because it's I don't want to how do you say that? Desgastar in English.
Gastar? How does
Yeah,
To waste my
waste.
time.
Oh,
Yeah, to waste my time. I
yeah,
don't want to waste my
gaspiar.
time. Yeah, so I don't want to face these people even they are doing something wrong, because you know it's too hard and I'm comfortable, so I'm thinking on me. But that is not the way that the Torah tells us. Hey, you need to act sometimes, and sometimes you need to be quiet. But the problem is that persons understands that to be quiet all the time, that is right, and it's not. Okay. Sometimes we need to talk, sometimes we need to be quiet. So that's the
And
point.
that's a lifelong lesson, learning when to speak and when to be quiet and when to do. I remember there was a couple in our congregation. Rabbi used to talk to people about how to discipline their children. And you don't need to beat them in public, as you said, but to let them know that when they get home, they are going to be punished. And that you're rational about it, not that you punish them out of anger, but later on you punish them, with in a way that they're going to understand that what they did was wrong and not to repeat it again. So the whole day they were afraid because they were waiting for when they got home. It's like when my mother would say, "Wait till your father gets home," and we were so scared. Yeah.
You know about the humbleness of Joseph. By the way, Mauricio, thank you for the message. It was a really good message. Very good message. If you think about it, okay, let's think about it. What is the humblest thing that a man could ever experience? like in this case, Joseph with his brothers, being sold as a slave, or if you look at from another perspective of losing your entire life for a purpose that the Creator had, a plan that He prepared for all that, and in that plan, Joseph had to go through, because the brothers acting against him and selling him as a jealousy or whatever reaction was in the family against him for being their father favorite son. But that was just one part. That was just the beginning. Remember, we need to look everything from another higher perspective, right? So the real humbleness that I see is that when a Creator sees a man, a soul that He made, He knows who is ready and who is not. If we see that example of Judas' daughter, daughter-in-law. Okay. In this example, we see how, by knowing what his daughter-in-law did, okay, he wanted to burn her. Could you imagine if God would have chosen Judah, to go through instead of Joseph? He would probably never went back to Egypt, would have gone back and would have killed all his brothers at once, So that tells you that when God chooses someone, there is a specific. He has all his reasons why, and we just have to, as it said, when he was in prison, Joseph, at the end, he really acknowledged, and he really understood that his life was claimed. I mean, in the sense of was because it's free will. We all go through all our experiences in life in a free will way. But when we understand the things that happens to us, and then we see the real purpose of the Creator leading us, on this, in this path, and we go through. And if you are very close, and you talk very much, and you converse, you talk with the Creator, and you have established a relationship, you will turn and say, okay, now I see why this person has been blessed. I've been here. Something happened here, was a problem here. The Creator has used me in order to help somehow, not because of me, but bringing just a simple message, a simple idea, giving a simple, why don't you do this better? Then in this path that the God lead us in our lives, there's always moments, okay? And when we see that, it's the most fulfill thing that we can ever, we grow through that. We grow, even though sometimes we do things that they are fast, or the things happens, it has the repercussion in this timeline, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I'll just say.
You think that maybe God could have shut his mouth, kept him quiet? If he could speak through a donkey, he could keep his mouth quiet.
Yeah. No, the point is, Joseph and Judah, God needed to become the great persons they will be in the future. They have to be in a process, because people like to see, oh yeah, that man is very, I don't know, successful, but the point is, but you don't know exactly what he made to be at that position right now. So in this case, why Joseph, for example, while Angel was talking, I was thinking about why Joseph was a great politician and great governor of Egypt. Honestly, because he come from the lowest of the lowest part of Egypt. From you know that the Potiphar was the person in charge to cut the heads of every politician at that moment. So if you start to think about him, he was not a very nice people probably because if you had to kill someone and cut his face, you need to be a hard person, right? So I believe that Joseph went to his house, but he knew that he had a wife very complicated, I would say. Okay.
Yeah, because he would have killed Joseph immediately.
Yeah, he will kill Joseph immediately.
Yeah.
And then we see also that that he went to the jail. In the jail, God made his prosper, but he was a prisoner. He was a prisoner, a person who is a slave. Probably today we don't have any idea about what is to be a slave. Okay, but when you see different, I have seen movies just to have an idea about what is slavery. Wow. Today, for example, there is documentaries that you see, for example, slavery in countries like India. They have different ranges, the caste systems, and there is one that is the lowest of the lowest.
Yes.
And these persons had to make the most terrible in unclean work in the world. So and also when I see that persons, I cannot imagine what is to be a slave. I mean, it is the privation of your freedom. You cannot decide by yourself, nothing.
That's why from the time in a Jewish home, from the time we're children and we go to the Seder, we are reminded every year what it is to be a slave, that we are never to forget that. Even though it happened 4,000 years ago, even today, we are still to remember it. And to, as a matter of fact, when you look at who fought, the North and South in the United States, when they fought against slavery, the North fought against slavery, there was a lot of Jewish money that went into fighting slavery because we were taught that from the time we were children. And that's the idea around Shabbat, that slavery was abolished, where you had to work 7 days. Now we can take 1 day and we can give it, we are free. It's a beautiful picture for us.
Yeah, Peggy,
Yes.
But there's one thing to remember, another thing is to experience it.
Of course.
Now, coming back to, because when a soul, okay, goes through a determined situations in their life, there is during this experience, either good experience or bad experience, there is a learning that is produced, and this learning makes the person, somehow grow in different, like other people, but if you talk about the slaves, if we look at Joseph, and I think this is more that we can ever experience, like he did, like for example, it takes a level, a soul level, in order to uphold and to get all this, upon yourself, upon your life. Just the fact that the God has already chosen you, but not because you are the best one. No, it's because he knows that, remember, God, it's not in a linear timeline, okay? He sees, he's living, and he's in the past and in the future and in the present at the same time. So whatever happens, it happens, So he knows the end. So he knows exactly each one of us right now and in the future what will become, So when we see Joseph, the level, you have to look at it, there is a level of in their soul that have developed this part of this love, which is the highest level of experience, that we can always that we can any being could experience. When we reach that point where we experience love in a sense, because you gotta see, you have to love a lot, your brothers, in order to forgive them for what they do to you. If you don't have love, there is only hate, and the hate will be, I'm gonna pay them back for what they have done to me, right? And it will be just, in the sense of, but how will be this a lesson for others if you hate them back? This is what first from the beginning they did to you. They mistreat you and they sold you as a slave. They will expect completely a payback or a revenge, or and that what they were, the brothers, when they went to Egypt. And they saw oh, well, now what is going to happen to us? He probably is going to kill us all, and they were afraid, right? But there was a level of love in Joseph that he understood exactly, the purpose, that in the middle of all the situation and all the development, through the years, during his entire life, there was that purpose, that plan that the Creator had set up, in order to save Egypt from dying, and Jacob and Israel, from dying from starvation. And not only that through that, Egypt actually will know something, and they will learn something about the only God, the Creator. And I don't know if you have ever read some history. There was one pharaoh, and they call him the pharaoh that it was a betrayal, in that time, which I don't remember exactly what was it. Akhenaton. I don't remember. I have to look at it. But it was one pharaoh that actually worshiped the Creator. He ordered to somehow to forget about all the different all the gods that they had in Egypt, and actually there was one who believed that there was a Creator, and that there should be, anyways, just I'm going off of the.
I think that was the one, that was the Pharaoh Akhenaton, who was at the time of Joseph when he came in, and that one of the reasons he treated them. And when it says the next Pharaoh who came in didn't know Joseph, it's not that he never heard of him. He didn't want to know what Joseph had done.
The other Pharaoh, what they did, they just, they wanted to re-implement the old system that it was followed by thousands of years on all the generations in Egypt. But do you see the effects of Joseph and the transformation in entire Egypt? And that is a reflection of like us being used by the Creator, bringing His light, the knowledge of the Creator, through other nations that they have been, they have learned through different ways and through other influences and ways that they are not actually truth, based on existence of how the Creator made everything, and that was you can see the transformation that happens, at every level, incredible.
Well, that Angel is the beauty of the Torah. It's filled with all these stories. It's like you said, but there's one thing to experience slavery, and there's another thing to understand it. Not everybody has to experience everything to understand that it's wrong. Like, I don't have to become a drug addict to know that drug addiction is wrong.
Yes.
So, but that's the joy. That's,
yes.
Rabbi always used to say, if we can learn from the experience of others, it'll help us not to go through pain in our own lives. And that's what Torah is for, to give us these stories from the past that will help us to grow and to change. But we have to live them. It's not only to talk about them. We have to actually do what the Torah says.
But just to give you an example, continue the example that you put about the guy that you said about the guy who has to take drugs in order to experience, But if you have to choose someone to help these kind of people, will you choose one?
It would be a recovered drug addict.
It would be one. Why?
Exactly.
Because he has this connection, and not only that, he has developed the love for the action of being in deliverance from in freedom, and he
had to go into that pit of hell and come out of it to know that other people can. It's like, I can understand what it's like to want to commit suicide because I wanted to. Yeah. So I get it, and that there's hope on the other side. And each of us has a very specific calling, and our experiences have happened to us to help us to fulfill our calling. Each of us has a very special role in this earth. And it's wonderful that we all together, we make a full orchestra that God can use, which is wonderful.
You know that if we only focus on, there was a little fight between the sons of Jacob and Joseph, and they all. But if you see the real plan, like from above, you will see that full power, like a nation, a level of economically, all the aspects that you can even imagine. That remember that in that time the Pharaoh was considered one of the gods, was representative or whatever, of the lineage of the gods. But just to tell you, when God does something, even if you start, by bringing, a message through a normal person, and that we call prophets in the old times, called prophets. There's this has like it's creative, it's all, you see the result.
Anything else you have to add, Mauricio?
Well, only to save Judah. Okay, the Rabbi says that he actually the word they used to be born was not age, which is born through fire. Okay, they said no. He used another word that means like, I don't know if you have seen, but when you have a cow, for example, and you want to mark your
right,
so you burned an iron very hot.
What's it called? I forgot the word. Yes,
you brand
them.
You brand them.
Yes, interesting.
So the word used is to brand her.
Wow.
Okay. So,
it's putting a mark on her so that everybody will know, and that will embarrass her in public, like slaves would be branded.
Yeah, and so everybody will know that she was a prostitute.
Oh my goodness, that's so important.
Yeah, that makes a huge difference.
That makes a huge difference. It's almost embarrassing because when I teach, when I do the Torah, they read through it on the Wednesday nights, and I missed something like that. Oh my goodness, that's great. I have to bring that up next time.
And that's why the word here is holy, just because she was a prostitute, and right now they are using the same word, like to be separated.
Right.
Okay, the kadosh.
That's amazing. That's a beautiful, beautiful teaching. Wow.
I always let the Lord use his vengeance on the people that don't like me.
That's very good, Brian. Yeah, we have to do that. And it's not easy to do. When you watch a lot of the programs today, a lot of them are about people taking revenge on others. and there's part of us that wants that sees, oh, how it's so good. Yes, he got him. But it's not God's way. God says, vengeance is mine. So we have to be really careful that we're in the cultures that we're living, that we don't get caught up in what the nations do, but to know that God has another way. You know, the more I listen to what's happening in our countries, in Canada, in Salvador, in America, how there's no justice anymore, how people are suffering. There's murders and killings every single day we read about. You know, we recently, last week, we read about a hit and run of a 7-year-old girl. Somebody killed her. And this was an immigrant family moving who left Ukraine to escape the war. They came to Canada, to Montreal, and their daughter gets killed by a hit and run driver. I mean, this is absolutely tragic. And you know, you wonder, how is it possible? How can we fix these things? And the only way that we can fix them is by bringing people to know the God of Israel, to bringing people back to his commandments. If the governments just spend time teaching the commandments to the people, bringing it back into the schools, bringing justice back into the governments, that would be the solution. However, God has to do something with the hearts of man in the same way he humbled Joseph. He had to humble Judah, the people of the world, as we have been humbled in our lives with the experiences that we've received. God has to humble this world, and it's not going to be a pretty picture. So we just have to keep praying. Yes, André.
The true reality, Peggy, is that not everyone it has this development, this part in their souls.
I know.
So it will require a lot of learning from these people, and
it'll require a lot of death.
But that is the reason why when Yeshua was here, he will preach, and he knew that is those that listened to him and they were resonating for the message that he was giving, to the point that when you were listening to him, you were probably said, well, actually, I don't know why, but I am attracted to these words that this is how I want to continue living my life.
Yeah.
Applying this teaching, this learning, because I see in these learnings a future for me.
And only God can put that desire in us.
And not only, and this desire can only come from within, which is the part that all of us we have, is the spark of the Creator Almighty. Right. And it says, this is what you hear it from him. This is we are connecting. We are one in that. And this is how we become one.
Yes.
This is how we are expected to, when the Creator refers to the end of time, where we're going to be all one, is because we all going to have this. We all going to have this desire and this love for doing all these things, or change the ways, our old ways, are letting our desires overcome, our passions overcome, our the things that we have to do right,
before, Angel, you were saying before about how Joseph had to learn to love his brothers. But I think what had to happen first is that he needed to learn and acknowledge who his God is. And then he needed to learn to acknowledge and love himself, mm-hmm. and understand his own role. Because unless we have that, we cannot love others. There's no way, because you have to have that strength, that inner strength. It's like a horse can be more humble than a little chihuahua. It knows it's
love. Because when you are there as Joseph, now put it in your mind, everyone, think you are Joseph, have in front of you your brothers, that they betray you. you have the entire power to destroy them. In, like, Thanos in the movie Marvel, that does like this, flicks the no. But this is where you see where love truly is.
Yeah.
That despite all the power that you have chosen life over death. You have chosen future over destruction. You have chosen, basically love over hatred.
Yes.
And this is how you cut. And when you cut, the past is past, and now from now on, it's only we start rebuilding and we start, growing and going forward.
Yes, but the past keeps coming up to bite you in the tuchus, let me tell you.
Yes, but we have learned a lesson, okay?
Yeah,
and I tell you by experience, when you go through an experience,
hold on, Brian, I'll let
even though
finish.
Someone has done bad things to you, and you say, okay, well, I have forgiven this person, I have put it aside, I have give it to the Creator, I have dealt with that situation. But every time that a situation comes similar to that thing stays inside. It's a wounded, a wound that has been healed, but you can still feel the scarf.
Yeah.
When you feel the scarf, that it reminds you what happened, and that is so powerful, so strong, that it makes you automatically, you know what this is, and you know how to deal with this.
Yeah, there's different levels of forgiving that, though, because I know I'm going through it right now with some people who hurt me very badly in the past, and I thought I had forgiven them, and yet it comes up again, and sometimes it comes up over and over again. There's different levels of healing, so it doesn't happen overnight. Let me tell you, it's a long process.
Yes, but
Definitely a process.
sometimes the problem is not you. After all that you have done, if you just continue like that, then they are them who have to do this work.
Well, that's the point. That's the point that I'm at right now, where I have to just simply distance myself because it becomes too toxic.
Yes, sometimes distance makes people realize, oh well, because we are living in a society where everything has to be controlled. And everything has to be under my desire, and everything has to be follow what I want to, and it's not about us. It's not about what is this person wants. Maybe she doesn't like noodles. She prefers to have rice. I'm not gonna force her to eat noodles.
But because sometimes it's religious pride. We say, oh, I forgive them.
But
that's pride.
I don't want to enter into the religious because religions, and that is the truth, has separated more from each other. And I'm speaking about humanity, than to join us all together.
Yeah.
How can you create a system that the only way to gather the people together is by fear? And if you don't follow what I'm telling you, you are kicked out. Do you think that the God of the kingdom of our Creator is like this?
No, of course not. That's the way of the world.
It's about dwelling.
That's the political system. That's the religious system. That's the medical system.
Right now, there is a transition. This is the big step in our civilization.
Yeah.
As a human species, in our planet, where we're gonna have to do this transition, where all the religions in the world, now they're gonna gather to become, one religious system that controls everybody, because this is what the elites are dreaming about, And the dream is over, as the song says. The dream is over. Okay, no, but what I'm trying to say is that there is another.
Hold on, Brian. It won't be long. I'm sure Michael will finish soon.
Too much, I know. But another dream, and this dream is in a world where everything. All humankind, we're gonna go over the religious system. We're gonna know things that we have not learned yet.
Yes, of course.
And with this understanding, we're gonna release ourselves, release our loads as Yeshua said, take my load. It's my load is no as
Take my burden. My burden is light.
it's light, which means live in the freedom of your knowing the truth, knowing who truly the Creator is,
Yes.
and who truly we are. That we are here in this planet that has lots of resources that can be shared for everybody, that we can live a life where there is no poverty, that there is not lack
No.
of food, there is not all that. Can you imagine? I can see the future. I see the future, and I already I think that it's coming.
It's
you know?
coming, and
So
it's a
we're gonna
process.
all be, everybody can
Yes.
have their own way of understanding how God, because this is how we learn.
Yes.
This is how the people taught us, about when I was in Spain, I had my way of until I met a rabbi, and I started to learn how, the first community, of how do you call it, the kehal of a messianic or believers, Jews believer in Yeshua, how the base, where all they come from the beginning.
Yeah.
How important was to understand everything, in every aspect. But then you separate yourself from what you have learned, all what the ideas that they have put in our heads, the interpretations and the things that you believe that they were not true, that they just were put in there for everyone to follow, and nobody was even complaining, say, well, I don't think that this is right. Why? Because everybody, if you complain, you will be kicked out of a community, and you will have to live by yourself. And it was tough to live in all times, living by yourself, than living in a community. Where you go in a community, you have a guy who, a brother who makes bread for you, and there is another one who sells, it's, anyways,
Yes.
I see that we're gonna all be, I hope we're gonna all, finally,
Thank you, Angel. I just want to hear what Brian has to say. I know he's been waiting very patiently.
And me
Three
too.
things.
Okay.
Just
You have to
quick-
put your hand up, Miriam. I can't see you. It's all black on the screen.
Well, you can hear my voice.
Yeah,
Okay.
but if I don't know you're going to speak unless you put your hand up. Yes, Baruch.
Three things.
Yes.
That lady in the house, no lady. She don't come to eat with us anymore.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, that's good for you.
And right now I see 10 things here. Like when I was I go to Mata and they were looking somebody to do a minion.
Okay.
We're a minion now.
And we have a minion. Sometimes we have 12, like the 12 disciples. Exactly. The 12 tribes of Israel.
And she,
And
they're most of the people like me. She says everybody doesn't like me, but she's wrong. Nobody likes her.
well, every thief thinks that everybody else is a thief.
Yeah.
Yes, Miriam.
Okay. Just quickly, it's just like a summary. We've all said this before, but to me, the only way anybody could know what humility is or what pride is if you have a relationship with God, because out of that, you get, when you see somebody talking about somebody and saying that, what a proud young man. And in that sense, pride is a good thing. The world considers pride a good thing. He's a man of pride. They really think it's a good thing. And humility, again, as you were saying before, it's a pride, it's a humility of pride. So bottom line is the only way, only with the relationship with God could you really know what those words mean.
Exactly. That's why I say, when I hear people saying we have to have Jewish pride, we have to be proud to be a Jew. It has nothing to do with pride.
No.
We don't even understand what it means to be a Jew.
And not only that, there's so many people who have that pride. You don't think there's the Irish diaspora, there's the Jewish diaspora, there's, so the Italians, but it's beyond that.
Exactly. What did you say, Brian?
An only child, and she needs to get hearing aid, and she doesn't get herself a hearing aid because she don't hear us.
Yeah, I know. Mildred's like that too. She doesn't want a hearing aid. You know what? People who don't hear today are much better off.
But this lady, she's not off. better. She's an only child, and the two only childs there.
Well, you know what, Brian, you need to pray for her. We need to pray for her and to pray that, you know, because when we meet her, Miriam and I met her the other day when we left your place and we were walking in the street, and she was very, you know, very pleasant to us, very nice. She's not well. She's not emotionally well. She's very damaged, and you know better. You know that you can pray for her and ask God to intervene in her life.
By the way, there is not a problem to be proud, you know, in the sense of it's always depends on the focus. If you develop this for yourself, you know, you ended up destroying yourself, as pride is one of the more destructive things. But if you are proud of your son because achievement or any achievement, or that is good. That is a way to show recognition, you know. And if
Exactly, it's like Rabbi said, even greed can be good.
Yeah.
Even greed can be good if it motivates you to do something that's good. Everything has two. It depends. It's balance. Everything in balance.
I can't even imagine being in the mind of Jacob, traveling to Egypt and see his son. By the way, he was his favorite. And look at him. Wow, there is my son. And I was right that he was my favorite. And look for the reason why I was so favorite, because the Creator make a marvelous and amazing done an amazing thing, you know, not only for Jacob and the future of Israel.
Well, Jacob obviously saw something in Joseph.
You know, it's just amazing. Well, how could, you know, this is to be proud. I'm very proud, like to say, well, the Creator, look at this. You know, we are safe because a man opened his heart, opened his life, and opened his will to follow just what the Creator guided him to do, you know. And look how many thousands of Egyptians and other nations are surrounded, that they came and they survived. They didn't die horribly, because, you know, if you look in Africa, there's so many countries that there die for starvation, like Ethiopia and all these countries. The death of starvation is horrible. It's terrible. It's like, you know, it's the worst death. But look, you know, how God made, you know, it's amazing. It's just amazing. And this is why, because we need to open our hearts. We need to open our
Yes. And on that note, we will say, wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Mauricio. Let us all pray that God will search our hearts. Tomorrow night, we light the first candle for Hanukkah. It's a holiday that reminds us that we are not to assimilate to pagan ways, that there is only one God. And may we be, each of us may be the shamash, the light for the rest of the people who are in our world and in our circle of influence, so that we may be a light. Let us be a candle in our homes and in those around us. And with that, we say Shabbat Shalom the rest of the day, and we'll see you, God willing, next Shabbat. And
you're gonna have a copy of this after the service?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Have a wonderful evening. Good night. Good afternoon. Bye, Atid. Bye, Muriel.
everyone.
Bye, Moshe. Boy, Moshe, it's late for you there in Uganda. Take care of yourselves. Shalom, Sarai.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.